snuck in. My husband just snuck in. So I'm really super glad that he's here. My twin sister, Commissioner Monica Sparks, is here, and I'm really glad because she has shared this journey with me. So it'll be very interesting to have her in the back there. And then my dear friend Rebecca is here. So I want you to be my timekeeper, Rebecca, because you know sometimes when we're having conversation, I can keep going, you know. So you be my timekeeper, Rebecca.
Okay.
So anyway, so tell me this in the room. How many of you have had adversity in your life? Okay. How many of you have not had adversity in your life? You have not?
No.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. That's good. I'm happy for you. I really am. Anybody else not had adversity in your life? Okay. So tell me, when I say adversity, when I say it, what do you mean when you say that you have had adversity in your life? Give me an example.
I would say like financial.
Financial.
Mhm.
Well, that can be a big one, right? Can't have something, have to work a little harder, reaching a goal, right? Okay, that's a good one. Anybody else?
Emotional?
Emotional? Was that you who has never had adversity?
No, it was
Did you
like,
just say that?
no, I'm good.
Someone said emotional, right? Emotional, that's a big one. Have a lot of stress with emotions. That's a big, tough one. Anyone else? Sir?
I lost a 16-year-old son,
Wow.
and then a year later, my first wife.
Oh my
So it
gosh.
was two significant losses in a year's time.
Okay, Chef, thank you for sharing that. That's adversity. That's adversity. Anybody else? So we're talking about what adversity is. Could one of you describe, one of your students, describe what adversity is to you?
Racial adversity.
Say it one more time. please.
Racial adversity.
Racial adversity, okay. So what would you say when you mean that, when you say that?
Like different.
Okay, so how you perceive, or, okay, I can see that. What about you, sweetheart?
I don't even know what the term.
Okay, well, good. Well, that's why we're asking. I'm glad that you said that. Anyone else? Adversity? Who's got a phone? iPhone? Android? You, my friend. Pop that open and look at the word adversity. And you're going to tell us what that phone says. We're going to use it for more than just Snapchatting on tonight.
I barely use it. Can you help me spell that?
Yeah, adversity. Somebody want to help them? AD. BIS.
Difficulties, misfortune.
Okay. So you want me to say it one more time?
It means difficulties and misfortune.
Difficulties and misfortunes. Okay? So when I say, he says difficulties and misfortunes, can you think of another situation or something else that may be adversity? Okay, your boyfriend just lost his great-grandma? Grandpa? Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. Anyone else?
Maybe emotional trauma or like mental disabilities.
Okay, good, good. Those are all real things. And I thank you for your time with that. So, if I think back on my adversities, I'm going to share some of those with you. And they, to me, are not as harsh as losing a loved one and then another loved one. I've not ever lost a mom or dad, essentially. I've never lost one of my parents. I've never lost I've lost a grandparent, but I've had adversity. So when I was a little girl, I was born in Lansing. Anybody here from Lansing? I was born in Lansing at E.W. Spear Hospital, but I had a little girl attached to me in the womb, and it was that young lady right back there, my identical twin sister. And she's my roommate. And she's pretty cool most of the time. When she's doing what I want her to do as a sister, you know, pretty cool. And so she and I were born to a mother that was addicted to heroin. And as we know, that's a strong drug. And unfortunately, it doesn't always lend to you making the best decisions for your life. But I am grateful for the decision that she made for myself and my sister's life. She said, you know, it wasn't something that she could do to continue to be a mom and take care of us. She wanted to though, but she just couldn't. So the state of Michigan came and took my sister and I from our mother, and we were 4 years old. They had to come and take us because there were many times that we were just traveling the streets of Lansing looking for a meal. Now, you've got an orange here, and that orange looks pretty darn tasty. But those peels probably would have really appealed to me in the trash can because it didn't have food. I didn't have the opportunity to just go, like a lot of children, to the refrigerator, open it up, and you find a loaf of bread, some bologna, maybe some milk. There was cereal on top of the refrigerator though, but we could never get to it because when you're tiny, you can't get to the refrigerator. Tall, you get the cereal. So my mother, she was just busy. She's just busy out doing her. And my sister, a lot of times we would go and we would find a Muslim house of prayer. And I think that's why I am so much into diversity, because when I was little, everyone else who did not look like me, they were for me. And including some people that looked like me, but they were for me. So we would go to the house of prayer, and I think they knew our situation, and they would always tell us, if you would stay and pray with us, then we'll feed you afterwards. And no harm ever came to us. Just thinking about as an adult now, some of the places that we would go, my gosh, like we could have been kidnapped, and then we weren't. Literally, we were kidnapped. We were found by the police, stuck in a car, and I think that is when it was enough for the state, and my sister and I were separated. Now, my sister is my heart. Now, Jen, no one better not say anything about my sister. Now, I can talk about her, but you better not. She could be wrong as two left shoes, but I love her with my life. I love her to pieces. And when you're 4 and you're scared and you're alone and your best friend is gone, that's troubling. So we got very, very ill, and the state determined that we could not be separated. We had to be together in foster care. So that was great. So we were in foster care for some years. Wasn't a good situation at all. So I went from not being able to have food and going in a trash can and getting whatever was in there to now a diet of sandwiches with mayo and baked beans. That was it. I remember our foster mother used to take and I'm sharing these things with you. And it's therapy, it's healing. Because I'm not the only one that has ever gone through first situations. But she would eat pizza in front of us, and I had never had pizza in my life. She would eat pizza in front of us and talk about how good it was, how tasty it was. And I never had pizza, but I had bread, and I had mayo, and I had baked beans, and that was far more than what I had had before. And it was fine. It was fine. So, move on in time a few years later, after a lot of abuse, mentally, socially, physically, there was a woman in Kalamazoo who went to the adoption agency to adopt a baby. Well, okay, that's great. But they were twins. And we were, at this time, we were 7 years old. Like 7? And so my mom, now, I call her my mom, Joyce is my mom. Mom went to the adoption agency and she wanted a baby. They were twins. She went back home, drove back from Lansing to Kalamazoo, and she said all she could do was think about the twins. Her and me, probably me more than you, Monica. All she could do is think about the twins. And so she decided that she wanted to just have visitation with us. And I remember when our mother, at the time, was a foster mom, she would make it up to Lansing to pick us up. And the first thing she would do is ask us, where do you want to eat? Well, of course, I'm greedy, okay? You can see it now, but I was greedy then. And we would tell her, and she would just take us there. And I remember one Sunday morning, my mom was crying in the kitchen making eggs, flipping eggs. And as we got older and into adulthood, we asked our mom, like, Mom, why were you crying? Like, what was that all about? And she was crying because we had never had eggs before, and they were so good. And she had the privilege to make her daughters eggs. Like, it's food, right? But it's eggs. She was so excited about that. I still like eggs, by the way. And my mom's eggs. And so it was just fun to go home to my mom's from the foster agency, because when we went back, of course, it was going to be bread, and it was going to be whatever the school lunch had for us. That's why I'm a proponent of school lunch, because it is necessary for kids. And my mom would always make sure that we had great food to eat. Great food. So I've done fast forward, and my mom was dating a guy at our church. And the guy was just adorable. I'm telling you, he was adorable. He would buy my mom flowers, he would buy me some flowers, and my sister some flowers. He'd buy my mom a piece of jewelry, he'd buy me a piece of jewelry, my sister a piece of jewelry. And then finally he proposed.
The guy was a minister.
Yes.
That part.
Yeah, he's minister. And so my mom and dad got married, and guess who they adopted? Boom, boom, twins. And my parents began to foster and channel the love of food and what it was to my community and what it was to our family. Food is love. Food is comfort. Food is where you can find hopes, goals, and dreams. Because we used to sit around the table. Sunday dinners were always Sunday. Every day was a Sunday at our house. We used to get together and we would sit around the table. My mom would make a fabulous meal and we'd just talk. Talk about the day. Talk about what you liked, what you didn't like. Talk about your grades. Talk about what you wanted to do as an adult. Talk about what you wanted to accomplish. And I love those meals with my mom and dad. And they also had a garden. So we had a garden in our yard, and we would go grow collard greens and tomatoes and all kinds of good fresh vegetables. And we would have to tend to the garden as well. It was so fun. It was just like a family outing. And our mom and dad would allow us to take the vegetables to the market, and we would sell them. Now, looking back on the prices that we used to sell things for, I know that they were very wrong because they were like a dime, 5 cents. But what our family was teaching us was about business. They were teaching us about how we can, in fact, give to others. Because when we were done that day at the market, we would take all of our goodies and we would take them to a senior citizen's home. And boy, Monica and I were so popular, because of course we were twins, so it's 2 of them, and we had all these fresh veggies, and then we also had chickens, so we also had eggs. It was always just so much fun. Well, I never had a need or want for food. I never had a need or want for someone to give me what I needed as a person. My parents loved us unconditionally, even when we were naughty. They would love us through any situation. And so as I became an adult, my sister and I, we will tell you, we are foodies, okay? You know what a foodie is? Yeah, she said, yeah, I'm one of those too. We are foodies. And so an opportunity became open for me to get a restaurant across the way from my office. I own a public relations firm, so what I do is I manage images for business companies and corporations. And so it was very clear to me that I was going to open this business, and I only had maybe 2 days. My sister has been a real estate broker for 20 years. I called her and I said, I want this place across the street. She said, what are you going to do with it? I said, I'm going to turn it into a restaurant. She said, what are you going to call it? I said, I don't know. That's not my problem right now. I want that place. You go get it, sissy. You go get it now. Go, hang up, go get it. And she says, okay. So she calls back. She says, okay, we can go see this place. But I don't know what you're going to be doing. What do you want to do? I said, I want it, sissy. I want it. And she says, okay. All right. So we get there, and we're looking around, and I'm like, oh, God, did I really say that I wanted this place? Because it had some work to be done in there. But I wanted it. And what I want, I try to get. So she says, okay. She puts the offer in. And probably about maybe less than 24 hours, the place is mine. Guys, I didn't know what it was going to be called. I didn't know the colors of it. I didn't even know what kind of food I was going to be sold in there. I just knew I had a restaurant. And guess what? We're going to put something in here. So I think about what kind of cuisine can I do? And it all led me back to my mama and my daddy. Fresh collard greens, black-eyed peas, catfish, fried chicken, mac and cheese, meatloaf. You getting hungry?
You're making my mouth water.
All those kinds of things. And I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. This is the goal right here. So I started putting everything on paper, and I had talked to my husband probably about 10 years before that and said, hey, I want to do a restaurant. And I said, I want to do it, and I wanted this, in lights, and, steakhouse and all of this stuff. Now, what the hell am I going to do with the steakhouse? Because I don't know anything about steaks, right? I just know it tastes really good, and ribeye is my favorite part. That's all I know. But I do know about soul food, and I know about Southern cuisine. That's what I know. So put it all together. After I put it all together, decided, all right, this is what we're going to do. We got this place. Now it's called Candy Yam, Delightful Southern Cuisine. Woohoo! Now I got a menu. I'm ready to rock and roll. Okay, but there's also the health department. Oh, that little thing right there, right? That'll open you and shut you real good, right? Oh, but there's also employees. Well, who am I going to hire? Because I already have a job across the street. Oh, okay, well, what else can I think about I need to do? Well, you need to get this done, this kind of paperwork, and this. But did it. I did it. I did it. And I started thinking of my whole life and all the adversities that I went through. From a little girl eating out of a trash can, trying to find food, to now I get to feed people, and I overfeed them. Trust me, I do. And that is not only the coolest thing, because I have little kids that come and they're growing gardens, they're growing little peas and stuff, and I get to say, okay, we'll make your peas for you. We'll buy your little seeds, and then we'll make your peas, and then you can see what those peas look like, and then you can eat them and taste them. And then we get to see people that aren't as fortunate as I was to get out of this situation, and they're homeless, and they don't have food. So I get to make them some good, honey. I took some food down to God's kitchen one day, and they were like, what is this? And I was like, all of that. I put my foot in there, you hear me? And I did it because I wanted them to have something so good. I didn't want them to have chicken. I love chicken, but I want them to have the best piece of cut meat because I know what it did for my soul. Food is for the soul, honey, and when you have food that's for the soul, it will heal you. It will heal you. Food will heal you. So, that happened 3 years ago, you guys, in January, last month, 3 years ago. And let me tell you about this little restaurant. This little restaurant has been listed as one of the top 50 restaurants to eat at in Grand Rapids, number 27. And last week, was it last week or the week before? The week before, we were just awarded the Retail Business of the Year by the Chamber. And I can't tell you how many times I am approached by doing something that can help our community in a positive way. And that makes me happy. But it's hard work. It's hard work. But anything that's worth it is worth it. Anything. So when I tell you, I know I look young, right? I look real young. Okay, I won't tell you how old I am. I know I look young. I got a son that's 27 and a daughter that, don't you pass out on me. And a daughter that's 17. But I am telling you, when I think about my journey, and my journey, how it came from A to B to C, and back to an A, I feel very grateful. I feel very fortunate. And I feel like I've had the opportunity, but I had to create that opportunity too. I had to create it. When I'm working, I have to be fair to the people that I work with. Because you have to have good people that work there, right? I have to be fair to them. I have to be fair to my customers. I have to make sure that my customers are taken care of because they're the reason why we exist. I have to make sure that the building is kept up. I have to make sure that certain things, my vendors, I have rapport with them. I have to make sure that we're doing things the right way. In my PR firm, I still am strong about education, very strong about education. We've been able to give more than $115,000 in student scholarships because this stuff is so important. Education is so important to me. So what I prioritize, I live in my life. So I don't know if there's anything that I've said to you today that will encourage you, but yes, sweetheart.
Well, actually, a lot of stuff that you said today kind of revolves around what I've been doing.
Okay.
I originally was planning on starting to focus on bakery, but I was recently in the recent ACF competition for cooking.
Okay.
And actually almost placed first.
Girl, good. That's awesome.
And ever since I tapped into what I really wanted to do last year and figured out what I wanted to be, I wanted to open a bakery and a restaurant. And I actually wanted to do, once it's open, have like a suggestion box and then, I don't know, like what I call it, like a tip jar or something.
Okay.
And the suggestion box would be like places people think that, like charities they think that money should go towards, and then whatever we make in that box every week plus
Yeah.
I would give to like a charity that I would keep in the box.
That's very wise.
And then with the fostering thing, I have a friend who lives in foster care too.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, and ever since, I kind of always wanted to, but ever since I understood what it really was, I've always wanted to foster kids.
Wow.
And because like seeing what the real world is and what actually happens with them, I want to be able to give them at least this home.
Oh, awesome.
And then what you said with the homeless people, in my bakery, I want to have like this little chill area where anybody can come in, no matter have a house or not. And like, if it's like a cold day or a hot day, of course it's
You know, sweetheart, can I be honest? Can I be real, chefs? Can I be real? What's your name? Alicia. I love your heart. And I love your story. And I love your goals. They are very admirable. Very, very much so. Now, I will tell you, you and I are similar, because I have a big heart too. But what I learned in business is that everybody's going to ask you for absolutely everything, and then some. And you have to come up with a way that makes sense for you and your business to still get that good feeling that you feel. Because sometimes I get in trouble with mine, even still, I do. I'm the owner, and they have to tell me and kick me in my hiney sometimes. Because sometimes our hearts are so big, but there's a business case. And because the lights, DTE and consumers, trust me, honey, they are looking at not what you're doing for someone else, but if you're paying that bill. So I love what you said, but just remember, you have to keep that business case in front of you.
Yeah, my dad
Yeah.
actually he doesn't teach anymore, because this is his first year not doing it.
Okay.
He teaches business 101 at Grand Valley.
Uh-huh.
So
Oh,
he's-
there you go. Yeah, but you got this already down pat. But you gotta remember that, because our hearts, sometimes they get so big, and then you're like, ooh, wait a minute, where's the money? You gotta have money to operate so you can do all those great things. Good
Yeah.
for you, Alicia. Good for you. Any questions about anything that I've talked about or said? I know I've said a lot, and my husband's like, hurry up, speed it up, you move too slow. Sometimes I do, but it's because I am so passionate, and sometimes I can talk so fast because it's overwhelming and it's so much to say. It's so much to say. And you want to say the right things in your audience. You want to say the right things. And I've got a mixed audience here tonight, which is pretty cool. Because I got the chefs. The chefs. I love it. I love it. And I've got the students. So are there any questions that you have for me in my journey? And if I can ask you a question, I'm going to ask 1, 2, 5 of you guys right here. I want you to name one goal for me. Just one. One goal. Start.
What do you mean by goal?
A goal. Do I need to have him go back to Google?
Please don't ever do that again.
So, yes, so a goal. Something you aspire to, something you achieve to, something you think, yeah, I want that.
When I open up a bakery or a restaurant, I want to make sure I can donate a lot of money to Autism Speaks, because my brother has autism, and so I want to give back to them because they've done so much for our family. And
What's your name, honey?
Dana,
Dana, I love that about you. I love that, and I love that you're there to support your brother. That's beautiful. Sir?
Well, the goal that I would like for you to remain is that your restaurant remains successful.
Okay, that's my goal, honey. What about yours? What's yours? What's your goal?
I just want to open a restaurant for fine dining.
Okay, fine dining.
If it's successful.
When?
In the
When?
next few years.
When it's successful.
When it's successful, the first thing I will do is see if your restaurant's sold, and then I will get you a reservation for my restaurant and say.
All right, boo. Here you go. I like how you know how to like my steak. Medium rare, don't forget it.
You got it.
Good job. That's awesome. And what's your name?
Jackson.
Jackson. Thank you, Jackson.
But I won't send you a steak, I'll send you a beef Wellington.
Okay, beef Wellington, but what if I want that ribeye more?
Do it especially for her.
Yeah, I'll put it on the side or something.
Okay, I'll take it. Thanks, Jackson. What about you here?
oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Become a dietitian, I'm hoping to.
you want to be a dietitian? That's very admirable. And why do you want to be a dietitian?
All the health aspects and everything. I'm still learning about it, yeah.
I do too. What's your name?
Lauren?
Lauren, it's nice to meet you.
You too.
My girl. So we know some of all that you want to do, but tell me one goal.
When I open my bakery and my restaurant, I want to be able to still in every dish show creativity that I love to show.
Very nice. Very nice.
The goal is to always work harder.
Always work harder.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is, work harder than you worked yesterday, work harder
Yes.
than she works? I mean, what's that?
Just like try to succeed in any work
More every day? And what's gonna be your, what's your name, sweetheart? Gavin? Gavin Austin, he was a whole name, all right, Gavin. So Gavin, so what are you gonna judge that against? The day before, or, you know, something that you, put in place for yourself, or someone else put something in place for you?
Especially because I think just push harder on every day.
Just harder and harder every day? Okay, so you're gonna just always be a life learner and achieving,
Just learn. Yeah.
okay? And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, which is best. So is there any questions that anyone else may have for me? Ma'am, chef?
Chef. So, the chef cooks and manages, cook and cook, so, chef. Your story and your adversities, and something that I think our students really need to realize. You built your business. You heard about your business and your mom and your dad, but I firmly feel that without that, you would have still built your business. You would have achieved your dream. And this is really the beauty of the culinary field. When I was, I think probably your age, I found myself.
Was that yesterday?
Yes. I found myself suddenly single. I lost everything, my family, my daughter, my home, my pets, except the cat. The cat. But I knew how to be a chef. But there were no jobs. It was 2006. There were no jobs. It was the recession. I lived 50 feet from the Canadian border. So I lied about my experience and got a job in a dietary department at a hospital. I, who used to make beef Wellington, was making oatmeal for 200 people. And being criticized about it, by the way, by the older women that worked there. But I did it, because I knew how to cook. And I knew how to overcome adversity. And I started at 0, except for the cat. And I am regional chef for Compass Group. So don't give up your dream. Never give up, just like Chef just said. You will succeed. And you don't need to have somebody come pick you up from the ashes. Because that's what culinary teaches us.
I love that. That is absolutely beautiful, chef.
You are absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And so yes, always think of her. If you can overcome.
Or her. I'm thinking of her.
Or the cat.
Or that.
If you can overcome what you did. Sure, there's always people that are there to help, but that doesn't make you, it's culinary that makes you.
Amen.
You'll accomplish anything.
Fantastic, chef.
What she was saying, culinary means who you